But, oh, I should make this point, I guess, before I go on, that, you know, the reason it spoils this particular move is that the whole thing about this move is that when you ever use it, you're always going to have to go down to the person like this. I mean, that's, you know, because of the application of the move. It just never happens otherwise. No, here,
That's the shoulder.
well, yeah. I mean, you never do this. That's not what happens. You pull the person down, and then, depending on where they go, you follow them. You try to keep this exposure and then strike. Okay, right? And she neutralized it so well, it had very little strike. But look what happens. A lot of these things only work martially when the person stumbles. They're designed to make them stumble. So, punches. No, you didn't stumble. So she stumbles here. Boom, like this. Now, look at the situation.
Right.
Exposure, step, boom. But of course, I've got to go low with the shoulder. In terms of that's when you go to the shoulder of the other person's shoulder. So you're always in a position where you're going down. And the other person is always countering you by going down with you. So it's like this kind of race to the bottom. So it's weird. All the shoulders are really low except slanting flight. But then when you see it actually applied in Sancho, where you give them the lotus kick, yeah. This is what I'm doing. This is slanting flight. Right? So in other words, it becomes low also. So it's very beautiful. You know, you can step back and stand up and like, you know, be like this. But I've always got to be lower than her shoulder because that's where the target is.
Question on basic mechanics after raise hands. Should you keep completely level and then come in for the shoulder this way, or do you have a little bit of a pull into the shoulder at this point and then follow at
That's
this
pretty
angle?
stylistic, I would say.
Yeah,
You know?
I'm just saying, what do you include that in? Or do you
Yeah.
stay level?
Well, I say it's kind of stylistic. I wouldn't criticize someone too much for starting his, tip over at that point. You know, I would say I'd rather it be natural than be stiff, no matter what. So instead of like, or
Right. So anywhere along the line of stepping from empty step here to here, you can start this stuff.
yeah. Well, also remember, there's a lot of situations in Tai Chi where we make something happen by opening and closing the kwa, which would ordinarily happen by tipping forward and back. And there's no reason that it can't have a little of that element to it. But the opening and closing of the kwa is much more, of course, sophisticated because it needs a root to happen. And it's very powerful. Whereas this, I mean, how are you doing that? Right? If you're just using gravity, well, it's still, it does something. Like I said, you can use that as part of a kick. That makes the kick much more powerful than just going like this, because this at least moves your body, and then that movement is transferred to here, and the timing is transferred to there. So it's something. But, using the quad, but it does the same thing with the hip. Pulls the hip back, pulls it forward. So this, if you punch, here, boom, now what I want to do is pull like this, right? But, of course, I could also just go and just pull down. That's sort of the crude version. So you just like break down like this. But notice, the more I do this, the less Chen Jing is involved. So it doesn't really use my root, doesn't really have any kind of, how can I put it, snap to it, So the only way it would have any snap is to kind of go boom, boom, segment it so that this becomes like a little ting-jing there. But of course, if it comes from here, it's much more powerful. There was a big guy in Russia who was like, I kept telling him, was that Sergey? I think I'm from anyway, I kept saying, it's like really big guy. He said, Sergey, and he's really strong. He's like, I said, no, just relax. And finally, he did it right. He was like, he almost killed me. I mean, really. He just got it, And of course, he went, what? You know, I didn't do anything, you know, naturally. So, you always get that reaction when somebody really does it well in Tai Chi Chuan. They say, oh, but I didn't do anything. So how can that be good? So anyway, here, the whole trick is the coordination of the opening of the kwa with this kick. You make sure that this movement has no element of this. You see, and again, there's something wrong with this movement. In fact, that's exactly the movement you do later in Sancho when you show this, high pat on the horse. You know, so it's not that remember, there's two kinds of mistakes. There's mistakes that are just real mistakes, and there are mistakes just because it's not the move you're supposed to be doing. It's like, you know, you raise your right hand instead of your left hand, doesn't mean you can never raise your right hand. It's not always a mistake. So it's not always a mistake to move your waist like this. But this particular move, you're supposed to be showing you can do this, which as far as I can tell, every grammar school kid can do. That's how you kick a rock, you know. But just, can you turn your waist the opposite direction? And now, having done it, can you make it happen with root here? Can you really feel the root when it opens, powering this kick? That's it, yeah, right.
There's a component of, maybe I'm misarticulating. I feel like there's a little bit of a zoom but not zoom, because I'm actually coming down lower.
That's the thing where chance of Jane is soon, but not soon. You know, it just does that, right?
Because I can feel this lowering,
Mm-hmm.
because when I try not to lower myself, I'm way more unstable.
Right, right, that's right. So then you are prepared to close the core. So that is your, you know, preparation for the pull. So you feel the core open and the kick, and then close and you pull. And again, those two movements are much more powerful when they are connected than when they're done with a break in between, like You know, just like it's just an analogy to the constant bear. If you go no, what you want to do is close, open. I was showing Gary, he was saying, you know, when I do this just casually, I feel a kind of bounce off the floor. Right? When you just kind of go, you use your weight, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't want that. You don't want there to be a bounce off the floor, but you want there to be a bounce. The bounce is sideways. The bounce is from your foot, going like this. So you do run into it and go back. Boom, boom. But you don't feel that cause any increased pressure on the floor. It's all horizontal. It's all a horizontal bounce. So then you can kind of make and of course, that can be done in any kind of protracted way. There's no reason you have to shift on foot. You could do this. You could say, you know, there's no reason you have to make this huge movement. It's just anywhere you do it, though, it's like you're snapping a whip. You can bring the whip all the way back to here and snap it, or you can snap it right here. It's still the same thing. So it's a reversal. So here's the same thing. To go like, that's sort of that. There's no bounce there, right? But you want to go. I can feel this. When I open this, I feel my foot pushing against the floor like this, and then it sort of, when it reaches its limit, it naturally pulls it the other way, and then I just add force to it, and that creates this. So in other words, I use the natural timing of its return. Now this confused one of my students in Russia, and he made ask a very good question. He said, you know, he asked it in a simpler way. He said, well, I'm doing white crane. He said, I know I'm supposed to, you know, do this and then reverse it, right? But he said, you know, when I do this, I feel like at a certain point, before I reverse it, it reverses itself. You know, it reaches the end and it starts twisting the other way, right? You can feel that, right?
Yeah.
Great, that's fine. That's not a problem. You know, that's what happens. But you just have to keep following. You have to follow it. And of course, you can make it happen sooner if you want to. It doesn't have to go to the point where it naturally bounces back. But when it does, you just, get behind it and use it. Because that's your timing. And that's one of the reasons that there's a kind of natural timing that occurs with jig that is confusing to a lot of boxers because it's kind of slow. And I guess it only fits in with the kind of technique that goes along with jig. But, for most guys, when they punch, that's what they don't want to go, whoa. They don't want this like funny little time lag to occur. But actually, when you start really using it, you discover that that time lag isn't the problem. Yes, it allows the other person to block something that they might have missed. If you're just going like this as fast as you possibly can. And that little extra time lag makes them able to block it. But what you feel is because of that, like it's like through the whole, it's right on time. When you neutralize it, when they block it, that's fine. It just comes right back into something very powerful. Whereas if they just, block this, it just like interrupts your force. So, the time lag is actually not something to be despised at all. It's actually the right timing. Now, when we have a split, like, why don't you give me the split from the Sancho? The forward one. Yeah, after the punch. Yeah, here. Whoa. Okay. Now, notice how this action, let's do it this way. Notice the action of this arm. Okay? So, nice block. All right, did you notice how it had this natural, so I catch this, it comes back, boom, there's the strike, right? Now, notice what would have happened if I did this. Well, she wouldn't have blocked it, but it wouldn't have hurt her either.
Yeah, there's no power.
It's like completely worthless power. William Chen makes a point of saying this. He says, if you're afraid to ever get hit in a fight, you can't fight. It's just because people can't hit you. The question is, can they hit you hard enough to make a difference? That's the important thing. And the Japanese are very aware of this. That's why when they have like matches, they don't count like casual strikes. It has to be focused and enough to make a difference. So first of all, if I try to hurry the strike, it doesn't gather all this force. But secondly, she can make the same mistake. She can block too soon. She strikes and blocks. No, you gotta block like this, right? She strikes and blocks. Boom.
Oh,
There's no point in her being fast either. In other words, she's got a natural change there that has jing in it, and that her block is part of that, right? So you're not gaining anything by rushing in forms. You're losing power, and also you just don't have the right timing period. But like I said, you can always prove that it would happen, you'd get the punch in more often. But the punch wouldn't matter. So it's kind of like, remember Hit Tiger? When, let's see. You give me the single whip. All right, here, oh, that's the cycle. This arc that this goes through is just like this one that it goes through. It's a figment of what the rest of my body is doing. So I could always go like this. Sure, you can just boom, 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 you can always prove, well, she can't stop it with her move. No, but it's a worthless punch. Completely worthless. But like I say, if I come back with this, then it becomes this, she'd better neutralize it, because that's a serious blow. So anyway, so you're always kind of, what I'm trying to point out, it's not a trade-off. You think, I'm trading power for speed. I'm saying, well, I could get it in faster, No, it's not even that. It's always better. The timing is also better. Everything about it is better. There's no reason to rush it for any reason. I mean, there is no reason. And everything will work out better. Because even if you succeeded in doing this, not only would it not hurt, but if you just blocked it, you wouldn't have any sort of, way to use that. Because you've already thrown yourself completely off. So if you stay, you know, like all I'm doing is following the taijis, right? Oh, boom, here comes one. This is just an open taiji. It's just connecting like this. If you just keep following those, they will take you to the right place at the right time.